Koe, Nindeluisin Sosan Bernard. Hello, my name is Sosan Bernard, and I will be moderating the webinar for today. Welcome to our webinar. This date, October 1st, is marked here in Mi'kmaq as Treaty Day. I want to take a moment to acknowledge our ancestors who signed the treaties of peace and friendship on our behalf and deliberated with intention of protecting our culture and our way of life for future generations, for us. Before we get started, we'd like to have an opening prayer. I'm going to invite my grandmother, Serena, to do that. So whenever you're ready, Megaju.
Walali. Edaway, Debbie Delam sin. Debbie Xal sin. Ach Debbie Ulea sin. Edaway, lay one. Edaway, Ujade lay one. Ujade Lidelaman. Sit down and Agunk. Beda Dilda wacht de Madi Benig. Said Gimijina. I ask that I believe myself to be capable, that I love myself, that I treat myself well and with respect, so that I may act the same towards all my relations. I believe that our grandmothers have asked that from all of us since the beginning of time. Walalio.
Thank you, Megaju. So this is our first webinar, and we're also excited to be bringing you these teachings and stories to you. Welcome to Dreamtime, Ceremonies and Wampum Belts. Before we get started, let's go over some housekeeping items. If you have any questions during the presentation, please wait until all of the guest speakers are done their presentations. There will be 15 minutes after to answer any questions, so please send your questions into the chat box. We will be recording this webinar and posting it online if you'd like to access the information later. Let me tell you a little bit about our project. My Megaju, Serena, and I have been selected to be a part of Spirit Aligned Leadership Program Circle 3. The purpose of this leadership program is to create a transfer of knowledge between the legacy leader and future legacy leader. Spirit Aligned Leadership Program is a Native non-for-profit organization that elevates the lives, voices, and dreams of Native women who seek to share their traditional knowledge and experiences. We would just like to take a moment to thank Spirit Aligned Leadership Program for believing in this project and giving us this opportunity. For more information on Spirit Aligned Leadership Program, please look at their website, spiritaligned.org. Our project is about the regeneration of Mi'kmaq star stories through storytelling. Our goals are to revitalize, document, and reclaim our Mi'kmaq star stories through storywork research, knowledge, and sharing based on our guiding themes: Dreamtime, Ceremonies, and Wampum Belts, petroglyphs and sacred sites, and our relatives and our language. We acknowledge that there has been a lot of high quality work already done by others, and we want to build on that. Our storytellers and knowledge keepers yearn to share understandings to help guide young people. And while the title may reflect revitalization efforts in Mi'kmaq, we understand the interconnectedness of Indigenous stories and knowledge of the stars and cosmos. This project is about we, Ginu, and our connection to our relatives in the sixth world and to the world above the sky. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to the team. Serena Francis, grandmother, elder, and legacy leader from Elsipogtog, New Brunswick. Carolyn Knockwood from Elsipogtog, New Brunswick, and member to Nova Scotia. Melissa Lunny from Elsipogtog, New Brunswick. And I've already introduced myself, Sosan Bernard, from member to Nova Scotia. So we're just going to talk about the agenda. We're going to have Wilfred Buck as our first presenter, and then Annette S, and then Claude Aubin. When everyone is done with their presentation, we'll have questions at the end. And then we'll have closing remarks and a closing prayer. And with that, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Wilfred Buck. Wilfred Buck is a science facilitator at Manitoba First Nations Education Resource Center and is an Indigenous star lore expert. A member of the Opaskwayak Cree Nation, Buck is known as the Star Guy due to his knowledge of First Nations astronomy. He has researched and consulted with elders to learn more about the astronomical knowledge of Cree, Ojibwe, and Lakota peoples. Wilfred is going to be talking about the importance of Dreamtime and star knowledge. Whenever you're ready, Wilfred.
All right, thank you. That's it. Do them now. Poem and negative teach go. It's a sneakasin and pascap ni no it's a Masco, I go my gun, make a show, I go penesho and do them. It's a magin and do them. Mukashkite. Greetings, my relatives. My name is Poem and negative teach go, which translates as the Dream Keeper, aka Wilfred Buck. And I'm coming to you today from Winnipeg, Manitoba, in the center of Canada. And in the last little while, I've retired from my position as the science facilitator with the Manitoba First Nations Resource Center. So as of December 31st, I'm a mercenary. I'm a gun for hire. I'm a freelance. The highest bidder. And so I've been pretty busy in the last little while, and I'm honored to be allowed to sit here and share some of the knowledge that the elders have passed on to me, have entrusted me to use in a good way, and to help our children understand the depth of knowledge that their people hold. And I'm honored that people would be taking time out of their busy lives to sit and listen to what we have to say. I want to acknowledge my compatriots that are here today, and I'm pretty excited to listen to the wisdom that's going to be passed on. I was asked to speak a little bit about Poamiak in my language, Inenyo, which is Cree. We identify those times when we sleep and have those pictures in our heads as Poamiak, which are dreams. And for my people, and I could safely say for all Indigenous people all over the world, dreams are very important. Dreams are not separate from our reality. Dreams are not something extraneous. Dreams are interwoven with our existence. Dreams are interwoven with the fabric that we swim through in this reality. And we're told that they're not something that our unconscious mind says and relates to us, but rather the spirit tells us that this is part of who we are, part of our reality, and they're very important in communicating in regard, especially to a spirit, because as Indigenous people, one of the very first things we come to understand when we come to this reality is that everything is spirit. Everything has that force of energy, and everything is interconnected, and everything is interrelated. And therefore, whatever we do, whatever we say, whatever we think, whatever we sing, whatever we breathe, whatever we feel, has a ripple through our realities and through other realities, because we understand that there are other realities, because our dreams tell us so. So I'm going to be speaking about some of these dreams that connect us to our reality. Poamiak, we're told that when we sleep, every time we sleep, we dream. And it doesn't matter if we don't remember what we dreamt about. And it doesn't matter that we think we don't dream. We always dream. We're constantly dreaming. Whenever we relax our physical body, our mind, our spirit reaches out, and we're told that there's a place up in the sky called the hole in the sky. And that hole in the sky, Wagwangizik we call it, is our connection to other realities, and our dreams connect us to those other realities. So one thing we got to understand is that every Indigenous culture looked up in the sky, as every culture on the face of the earth. Doesn't matter what culture you came from. You looked up in the sky prior to the coming of the industrial revolutions, and prior to the coming of all the distracting technology. We looked up in that sky, and we were very familiar and very intimate with that sky, and we recognized those patterns, and we come to expect some of those patterns. And so each culture has their own understanding about that sky. Each culture have their own constellations, their own stories, their own tellings, their own knowledges. And for my people in Inyo, we have our understanding of that sky. So what I'd like you to do first is to bring up that star map. And the first thing I'd like to say about the star map is that I want to acknowledge one of my elders by the name of William Wilson, who had a hand in putting together the star map. And I want to send my condolences to my relative Annette, who had also had a hand in producing this map. And so this is Hinenyo na Achagosak, Mashinayagan, the Cree star map. And what you see before you is some of the constellations that were located at that time when this map was made, which was about 3-4 years ago. And since that time, we've located probably another 16, 17 constellations in this sky. And one of the most awesome things we found about coming to this knowledge was that there are multiple tellings in groups of stars. When we were going to school, and when I was going to school, and they were telling us about astronomy, and they'd show us the 88 constellations, and they'd tell us that the Big Dipper was an asterism of the larger constellation, Ursa Major. And of course, we knew what the Big Dipper was because it was up in our sky all the time. And we had associated with the big bear, the great bear with a big long tail. And that was it. There was no other understandings about it. And along with that, there was no other perspectives given other than the Roman Greek. And there was no mention of the Arabic peoples, no mention of the Asian peoples, no mention of any indigenous people whatsoever. And so we assumed that nobody else knew anything except the Romans and the Greeks. And so we became very intimate with these constellations. It wasn't until later on when I started going to ceremony, and when I started listening to the elders, and when I started participating and singing the songs and hearing the stories and doing the ceremonies, that I began to understand that they were talking about the sky. They were talking about the stars. And once I made that connection, then it came to the realization that these constellations up in the sky were from my people's perspective, and each people had this perspective. And so I began an active search to locate some of these constellations. And so this, what you're looking at here, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 images with your naked eye. But actually there's in some of those images, there's multiple images. Like if you look at the stars of Orion on the bottom of the map there with a man pointing at that star, there's three images layered on top of one. And there's 3 various tellings about this group of stars. And same with that star. That's the hole in the sky. But it's also there's another telling involved with that I've come to realize. So there's multiple tellings in various of the visible stars that we see in the sky, and it's not only one. So it relates to our reality. It relates to that sky world up there, and it relates to other realities, because we're told that there are other realities out there. So if you look at the sky map, each culture has their own sky map. Each culture had their own stories. And one of the most amazing things that was told to me that I was in awe of was that one night we were standing outside of Saskatoon on the Great Plains in Saskatchewan on a cold September night, looking up at the night sky, and we could see thousands and thousands of stars with the naked eye. And the elder said to me, he said, Every star you can see with the naked eye. Our people had a constellation that was attached to these stars, and there was a name with that constellation, and there was a sacred telling that went along with that name, and there were songs and there were ceremonies that were done. And then I looked at all those guys, and I was totally amazed of all those stars up there, because we're told by astronomers that when you're outside at nighttime in a clear, dark night, you can make out anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 stars with the naked eye. So that tells me there's thousands and thousands of stories, because like I said, there's multiple tellings for various stars, various constellations. Like that Big Dipper, I know of 7 tellings from just that Big Dipper alone. And so that picture of that bear there that you see is only one telling that was shared. And there's multiple tellings. So you can imagine a sky filled with our constellations, how they could be interchangeable. And you might need maybe as many as 7 star maps to encompass all that knowledge that is being presented. And I'm sure this is true of every Indigenous culture. So the other thing that the elder mentioned to me that really blew me away was he said the knowledge that was up in that sky, our people obtained that knowledge. And just like the educational system, and just like the scientists going about trying to prove some statement they made, some theory, there's certain steps, the scientific method they call it, and educational people call it the scientific method, methodologies. There's methodologies you go about learning, gaining knowledge, and our people had our own methodologies in obtaining the knowledge that was there in the natural world. So the elder said to me that that knowledge was gained. It was gained through fasting. Is one of the ways we gained that knowledge was through fasting. Another way we gained that knowledge was through dreaming. Dreaming was another way to gain that knowledge. Another way we gained that knowledge was through ceremony. Another way we gained that knowledge was through traveling all over the place. And when you travel all over the place, of course, you run into other people and you share. So traveling and sharing were other ways that we come to knowledge. Another way we come to knowledge is the vision questing, and teaching lodges, where we'd sit and we'd listen and we'd learn. And another one, of course, of those methodologies of coming to knowledge was the singing and the dancing. So all these things were ways of how we came to knowledge. And this is how we obtained our knowledge. And the thing about that, the elder said, was that with European contact and with all the historical trauma that happened to our people since that time, we lost up to 85% of that knowledge base. And so we only have 15% of the knowledge base we had prior to the coming of the Europeans. But that knowledge is still out there, because the way we gained that knowledge was through those things that I just mentioned. And the thing about that is that we still do those things. Therefore, we can still reconnect with that knowledge that's out there waiting for us. And I thought about that, and I said, no, that's awesome. So if our youth can start connecting with these things, then they can regain that knowledge base that was out there. And they'd see the depth of knowledge that their people had, the understanding, and the vastness of that knowledge would unfold before them, just looking at the sky, because the sky was pretty much the educational system for our people. And he said a lot of the people all over the world, they look at that star, look at those stars, and some of those stars are very sacred places. One particular one called the hole in the sky. So there's the hole in the sky. There it is, the hole in the sky. HITS, hits. So this is the hole in the sky. Excuse me. The hole in the sky. Bagwan Gizik, we call that. Bagwan Gizik, the hole in the sky. And these, of course, are the Pleiades. Now, the Pleiades are very important, not only to Ineniok, but to Anishinaabe, to Mi'kmaq, to Haudenosaunee, to all these people. They're very, very sacred. But not only to that, there's all over the world, people observe these stars at various times of the year. And they come to realize that this is a very sacred place through the stories that were given, through the dreams that were given, through the visions that were given. And so when my people talk about Bagwan Gizik, the hole in the sky, and they say this is where we come from, we originate from this place. And so when they're referring to hole in the sky, what they're referring to is a spatial anomaly. They're referring to a wormhole. They're referring to a doorway to another reality. And we come from another reality, and we come into this reality. And when we come into this reality, we come in as energy. There's a term in Cree they call Gishagugak. When you say Gishagao, how is the day? That day, so Gishagao is the day, that light of day, the energy of that day, that daylight. So Gishagugak refers to beings of energy, beings of light. And that's what we are prior to our coming into this reality and taking a physical form. And we come to that hole in the sky as energy. And we take a physical form. At this place here, we visit Mutashki, this earth here. And then when we leave, again, we revert back to that energy. And then we continue our journey. And so this is one of the basic understandings that our people had prior to the coming of the Europeans, is that we are energy, and we're traveling the cosmos in a quest for learning, quest for understanding, quest for experiencing, quest for all these things. And so this is one of the stops along the way, the many stops along the way. And we're told that this hole in the sky is that connection to that other reality. And when we sleep, our mind makes a connection to that reality. And so when we dream, the elders say when we dream, those dreams that we're having are glimpses into another reality. They're glimpses into multiple realities. So we're constantly dreaming, and we're constantly having all kinds of dreams. And so we have countless dreams. And then sometimes we're told that when we're someplace doing something or somewhere, it hits us that you've seen this place before, you've been there before, or you know what's going to happen next, or you've seen this person before. And all of these things, our elders tell us, that's because you have seen these things before, because in your dreams, you were showing these. Out of all the millions of dreams that you had, you were showing these certain ones. They connected, and they became reality, part of that reality. So what they were, I didn't realize what they were talking about there till I ran into this astrophysicist, and I got speaking with her. Her name is Dr. Kim Ven, and she's from the University of Victoria in Vancouver Island in Canada. And we were doing a presentation out there. And after the presentation, I was talking to her, and I invited her to come to a sweat lodge. And one of the things she said was that she was honored that to be asked to go to a ceremony, and that she would. But before that, before she went, she just wanted to let me know that she wasn't too partial with any type of organized religion. It never sat well with her, any type of organized religion, because it didn't sit well with her understandings about reality. And so she attended. So in the sweat lodge, one of the elders asked me to talk about Bagwan Gizik, the hole in the sky. So I told that story about the hole in the sky, and about energy, and about changing form, and about coming here, and about looking through that hole in the sky and seeing multiple realities out there. And after the sweat was over, Dr. Kim Van, she came and spoke with me, and she said, you know, I like what you had to say. It makes sense, she said. You're not talking about angels. You're not talking about heaven or hell. You're talking about energy changing form. You're talking about multiple real possibilities out there. And I can understand that, she said. And I'm comfortable with that. She said, what you're talking about is a quantum theory. And what you're talking about is particle theory. And so these are some of the things you're talking about. And I can understand that. I can relate to that. And I felt very comfortable experiencing what happened in that sweat lodge. And that made me feel so good. That made me feel so good. And the elder there also, he said, you know, because our people will be talking about this for a long time. And this is one of our basic understandings. And it's good to see that it aligns with people thinking about the universe in another way. So that hole in the sky, again, relates us to other realities. And we're told, Awashasuk, our children, Awashasuk, when they come into this world, they're lower down from that hole in the sky. But they have a direct connection. That spirit connection is still there once they arrive at this place. And there's a place on top of their head that's soft. And that place on top of their head that's soft is their direct connection, spirit connection to that sky, that hole in the sky. And they can see the spirit. And they have that purity to see the spirit. And all these things that our elders told us, it made so much sense. And they said that there was beings up in that sky world, Kichigis up in that great sky, that were doorkeepers. The doorkeepers, they looked after these doorways. And the one I'm talking about in our reality right here, in our Milky Way system, is called Kuku Managasi's grandmother spider. She sits on the Milky Way, and she's in charge of that doorway. And she's the one that lets beings through. And we're told that when we came here, we were the first one here was the Chagos Square, Star Woman. And she got lowered down to the hole in the sky by Kuku Managasi's grandmother spider, assisted Star Woman. Kuku Managasi sent a single strand of webbing to that hole in the sky, and Star Woman came down. And when she touched the ground on this place, Suwataski, this earth here, she took a physical form. And of course, that was us. And that single strand of webbing that she came down in, we call that the umbilical cord. And that's how we all get here. And with that connection, with that soft part of the head for our children, that spirit, it makes that circle. And so when we finish our visit at this place, we resort back to energy, and then we go back up to that hole in the sky, and we continue our existence in other realities, in other dimensions. And listening to what these elders talked about this, a lot of people pass it off as quaint little stories, when in my way of understanding that there's a real depth of knowledge there. There's a depth of understanding not only about our physical world, but our spiritual world and the other realities that are out there. I don't know much time I have left, or if I ran over my time.
You have a couple more minutes.
What's that?
You have a couple more minutes.
Oh, a couple more minutes. Okay, thank you very much. I thought I was running over here because sometimes I just go on and on and on.
I'll let you know.
And then there's a cane that comes in and pulls me off. So the hole in the sky. So this depiction of the hole in the sky, there's 7 points, and we're told that at one point we could see 7 visible stars up in that sky prior to all the pollution that's floating around up there right now. So at one point we could see 7 stars, and that was Pagongijik, the hole in the sky. And so when Star Woman got lowered down, she brought a gift with her, and that gift was a 7-pointed star, and that was a star blanket. So that star blanket,
8-pointed.
Yeah, that star blanket, Tsagos Aha Koop, we call that. And Aha Koop is a derivative of Tepagoop, which is 7. So she gave us this blanket, 7-pointed star. And as more and more of us came here, one of the things that the people thought was we should honor the first grandmother, the first one here, Achagos Square, Star Woman. We called her Gugu Mi now. the first one, the first grandmother. So in order to make give her that honor, they added an extra point on the star blanket. So nowadays the star blanket has 8 points on it, and one of those points represents Gugumina, the first grandmother, Achagos Sisquel, the one that first came here, and the one that showed us the way to come here to this place. So that's why we started off with a 7-pointed star blanket. And sometimes when babies are born, there's a special blanket, a 7-pointed star blanket made, and the babies are wrapped in to remind them, and to remind their parents that this is where they come from. And these babies are not ours. They're only gifts. They're loaned to us. And then when a person passes on, again, a 7-pointed star blanket is made, and they're wrapped in that star blanket, again, to remind people that they're going back home now. So with that, I'd like to stop it right there. And I want to thank everybody for listening. And hopefully all the ramblings I went on to connect at some point. Thank you very much. Oh.
Oh,
Thank you so much, Wilfred. The star map was really beautiful, and I loved what you had to say about we are energy and on a quest for learning. I thought that was very powerful. Thank you. And next we have Annette S. presenting. Annette S. is an American astrophysicist and director of Native Skywatchers, a program created to record, map, and share Indigenous star knowledge. Lee is an associate professor of physics and astronomy at St. Cloud State University, as well as a professional artist. She is a mixed-race Lakota and works with Ojibwe and Dakota Lakota communities to preserve those cultures' astronomical and ecological knowledge. Annette's presentation will focus on her own personal journey with the stars. Whenever you're ready, Annette.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay. I'm gonna put down this tobacco. I grew this right here from this land, so. Mitakwe Oyasen to all my relations, to everyone here in this circle. I greet you with a good heart, and I honor this little bit of time that we share here in while our paths cross. I pray that it can be meaningful for us. My name is Annette Lee. I am mixed race Lakota. By mixed race, I also acknowledge my Irish and Asian ancestors, along with my Lakota and one other Indigenous family member, tribe unknown. I am speaking to you from Minnesota Makoche, which is the land where the water reflects the sky. Minnesota Makoche, Minnesota, US. And I want to acknowledge this is the original territory of the Dakota and later Ojibwe people. These are my communities, and it's an honor to be here walking on this land and under these stars. I also want to put words to acknowledge this is not a normal time that we're gathering in, but COVID time. And it means many things, but it means loss, a lot of death. I keep looking at those numbers, seeing in the US here, we hit 700,000, almost 1 million people. In the world, over 4.5 million. And that's, they say, an undercount in many places, not counted. I don't know the Canadian number, but I do know that in the world, human beings we're getting our butts kicked by this COVID. And we really have to acknowledge that, as much as we want to just go on and get back to normal or stay busy. There's something big happening right now, and we are here, as my elder Wilfred said, we're just here on the short journey, as human beings, spaceship Earth, and we came here with purpose. And I think the fact that we're gathering here in this spiritual way we came here to be a part of this shift of a force of positive. So I guess what I'm saying is I just want to acknowledge that this time and all those who have died, but at the same time say that we're still here and we're still with the living, and so we have to find that strength inside ourselves, find that clarity, and be a part of this, making something change, especially for the future. So being here is about creating something positive, and having that hope for now and for the future, for our kids, generations to come. So I'll put my tobacco down here and acknowledge this is fall time. So happy equinox. I hope you're gathering your medicines, getting ready for winter too. And so my part to share with this circle is Wilfred was talking about the sources and talking about the colonization and that loss. He's talking about the star map and how he's recovered so many through his work, 16, 17 constellations, but then working in these last years, filling up those blank spaces and revitalizing the Innu star knowledge. And we're doing a similar thing here. This is called Native Skywatchers. This is my work and my community. We're grassroots, Indigenous based. And we're doing a similar thing too, right? Creating programming and opportunity and content and resources to revitalize that star and earth knowledge and our part in it, to get that into the schools for our kids, our Native kids. But today, really what I want to talk to you about is something a little bit closer to my heart, which is art. And I've been a visual artist for all my life. Just like, when did I first have a connection with the stars? Definitely came through the doorway with that medicine. That's one thing I packed in those bags to help out here, because as you know, I'm sure there's some pretty rough times. And, what do we have when we hit those low spots? What's our go-to? What's our source? And I really believe that, the ceremonies, fantastic. Fasting, I've done fasting a lot, and I went to Sundance for 15 years. I was the fire keeper for the Women's Lodge, Women Sundancers. Also participated for a good 15 years in the horse ceremony. I have horse medicine strong in my bundle. Carry a pipe and so on. But one of those medicines is the dreams. A lot coming through those strong spirit dreams, definitely. But another source here that I want to speak to directly and show you, I have like 3 examples to share with you here, is the art medicine. I know as Indigenous people, we have that art. We don't have traditionally that silo system where art is separate and there's science and there's art, and you got to pick one and specialize and narrow, reduce it down. We're not about that so much, about being a whole person in our whole mind, body, heart, and spirit. And so, the art medicine to me, I guess, is to say that it's a kind of a spiritual practice, because and there's a lot of parallels, because it's basically about, what's that go-to, what brings you a sense of joy, or maybe just a sense of feeling at home, like that same feeling of looking at the stars, that feeling that is many times brings a shift in energy to the positive. But it's also something about connecting into a deeper source. And then again, like with dreams or in ceremony, it's that there is this something bigger than us and our spirits, our energy as an individual, but there's a bigger source of energy out there, whatever we call it. And through that, art, medicine, a bridge forms. And in that kind of way, we're listening. But I like to think of it sometimes, it's a practice. And just like if we were practicing basketball or soccer or some kind of sports, you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't practice it, it's going to be pretty much the same, stagnant. And so it's the idea of taking the time to practice and to really be open to being a part of that bigger source, sort of like listening, sort of like going down a hiking trail and really not knowing where you're going, but just going to be going, but really listening and trusting. And so it's kind of like a process of, I almost think of it like tuning in a radio station, if we even have radios anymore. But, it's a lot of static, a lot of noise, a lot of bumping around, distractions. It's hard, maybe even painful sometimes to try to sit there and listen and to do something of that's worthwhile. But I feel that it comes, and the more that I can practice listening, it's almost like a muscle that's built up in sort of this trust that builds up, so it actually gets louder and easier each time. And so there's this connection, and sometimes it's clearer, sometimes it's not clearer. Sometimes it feels more like my own, and sometimes it's completely clear that it came from somewhere else and it came through me. So I just want to acknowledge that the art practice of art in this sense, there's a lot of different ways to do art, but this is just how I know it. And maybe some of this makes sense to you, that I feel with, again, like Wilfred said, song, dance, ceremony, dreams, all of these ways are ways of opening up that doorway. And in Lakota, we have a word, and it's called kapemini. And you could talk for a long time about what that means, but what I've heard elders say, like, um, in ceremony, in my working with them, as it is above, it is below. And so, as it is above, it is below. There's the top, the above is like the sky world, the spirit world, like a top triangle. The below triangle is the physical, the earth. And there's a mirroring, see the mirroring? And when we acknowledge that there are these two parts that are equally as real and meaningful, it places us there at the doorway, which is between the two worlds, the above, the spirit world, or the sky or the star world, the below, the earth, the physical plane. And when we acknowledge that, it places us at the doorway, and the doorway opens. And that's the word mani. Kapem mani is the water. And so that's a flow. And I think the important part here is that we want to be at that doorway to open it as much as we can, because that's where the healing comes through. And we might do that in a full-blown ceremony. We might do that just by talking about it or doing art or anything in our dreams. But we have a lot of teachings about the umbilical cord and reconnecting with the stars. But because of colonization, a lot of people might feel sad, like, where's my umbilical cord? I can't participate now. But the point is that even if you don't have your umbilical cord, I like to say you still have your belly button. And the belly button is that center place. It is that umbilical cord. It does place us at the doorway. And if you are a human being, you have sky and earth inside of you. Let's not forget, because the sky is the above, which is our spirit, our star part. And what's the below? Well, the below part is the physical plane, the earth. That's our bones, our physical body, right? We have this special combination right now. And as long as we're human beings, we have this opportunity to participate. So with that, I just want to show you some of a short video. So if it's possible, I'll share screen. And let me know. I'm clicking the sound for share sound, share screen. Can you see this with the art? So this is my art focus website. Many projects happening and have happened, but this is the one I want to show you right now. And this video right here is called First Memory. And this video is about coming through that doorway. What happened here? Let's see. Oh, sorry. Let me try that. Take 3. Okay, here we go. So can you see the screen? Okay, so this is a 4-minute video that I made, and it's really has a lot, I'd say maybe 15 or 20 paintings. But this is the story of myself coming through that doorway as far back as I can remember.
Got it.
There I was in a large open field at night with a crowd of strangers all standing around doing nothing, when suddenly the sky started exploding. Like fireworks of every color bathed in aurora, the stars were dancing. No longer pinpoints of ordered sparkle, but out of control, swirling, interacting trails of falling starlight. The sky was on fire, eerie yet beautiful. All the people around me went hysterical. Surely it was the end. They grabbed their boxes and bags, photos, even TVs, as if their earthly treasures could save them from this unearthly moment. Moms grabbed their children, dragging them. Some fell to the ground. Some were trampled. All agreed it was hopeless. I stood like a statue, raised one hand skyward and reached. The celestial light grabbed me, as if it were a magnetic rope, an umbilical cord of energy holding me in place in this violent storm. I was anchored to earth by starlight. It filled me, bathed me in calm confidence. I knew that the scene unfolding in the sky above marked a new beginning, a beautiful dreaming solidifying. I knew everything would truly be okay. Feeling bad for everyone else, I broke the connection. I tried to help them, to tell them it would be okay. No use. No one's listening. I went back to the starlight recharge. Later, I understood that this was more than a spirit dream. It was my first memory, like a message in a bottle made while still in the womb, sent through the doorway with me, so I would not forget. That's why every night I visit with the stars, reach skyward and remember the message. The star medicine is strong and real in you. It is your lifeline. Don't forget. Today's headlines: a year of crisis and uncertainty. A friend's 35-year-old niece dies of COVID. A family member so weak he can hardly hold up his head. Taking the vaccine allows a piece of messenger RNA from a deadly virus to be gene edited into my cells. Do I trust this? What choice do I have? I have no room for error. Working 16-hour days every day. It is all a blur of pain and silver linings. Time is spinning, terrified for the future, feeling beaten down in the present. More gray hairs every day. Jolting leg cramps wake me from a healing sleep. Stomach gurgling like a blender grinding metal. I feel the stress overloading my body. At this desperate moment, I reach skyward and inward like never before, holding on to my last hope, my lifeline, my first memory. Pilamia. So I'm going to end there, but I just want to say that if you can remember to embrace your artwork too as a way of connecting with that source in the dreams and the ceremonies and the songs. Pilamia, we have a lot of work to do. So Pilamia, thank you for listening. Mitakirasen.
Bilal and Annette, thank you so much. That was very beautiful. And I really liked what you had to say. If you're a human being, you have sky and earth within you. That's very nice. And now we'd like to welcome Claude Aubin. Claude Aubin is a Métis leader from Quebec. His family are descendants of the Wolastoqey and Huron-Wendat nations from Eastern Canada. He has dedicated many years studying wampum belts. He has helped with the engineering, conception, and writing of the resource book Wampumig, the spiritual science of the wampum belts, to revive the uses of wampum belts to keep them alive in special ceremonies. Claude has done much work to encourage people to learn the spiritual and scientific knowledge of the wampum belts. Today, Claude will give us a brief introduction to wampum belts and their connection to the star teachings. So please welcome Claude.
Hello. I just see myself. Do people see me?
Yeah.
There's so much thing that have been said that I just don't know where to start. And I want to make sure that I don't want to repeat what was already said. So basically, I'll introduce myself in a different way that you did. Premièrement, je suis métis parce que je parle ma langue métisse. J'ai ma connexion avec la nation française, la nation écossaise. S'il y a des gens plus tard qui veulent poser des questions en français, il n'y a pas de problème. Je peux faire ça. This being said, my story is start in probably in 1701 is when my great grandparent married a Passamaquoddy lady in St. Croix, you know, like in Wabanaki territory, Sieur de Saint-Aubin. And all the offspring of that end up being among the Maliseet and Passamaquoddy and the Mi'kmaq signatory of treaties. They're well known from there. But the thing is, we never really belong to a community. So I cannot say that I am from such a place. But the Maliseet know very strongly who I am when I go in the territory. So this being said, is that I grew up as a young guy being métis. Well, métis, j'étais métis. And basically, what really happened is at one time there was the traveling college organized a gathering of Aboriginal student across Canada, First Nation student, you know, to talk. And among that group, there was a beautiful Cree woman from Upaspiak, Cree Nation. And boy, did I ever get and fell in love. So we got married and we had kids and we lived together for 47 years until she passed away. But the thing is that she brought me back to Manitoba and awakened in me my connection. Then all of a sudden, my grandmother started pulling out pictures. Pictures. Do you see this picture here? Do you see picture? No, you don't see me, yeah? Yeah, this one there, my great grandfather there on the corner with the wampum belt. That was it. I said, okay. I never knew what hit me when she did that. But anyway, so I came back east, and slowly I got involved with the Department of Indian Affairs that got me a job to be in charge of the Cultural Education Centers program for many years. So which allows me to be in contact with elders all across Canada. And that's when it's really starting going. So everything started to go through the dreams that you spoke about, to the be put in situation. And slowly, I at one time, I developed this connection with wampum belts, not knowing what was coming. But if we want to talk about the wampum belts, I have to warn you about something. I don't want to say anything to hurt anybody's feelings, but I just want to tell you this. In time of reconciliation, it's also a time for recognition, isn't it? A recognition that we want to decolonize, okay, our history that was written by other people based on interpretation of what we knew. But there's also a very important issue that we have to do. We have to decolonize ourselves also of history, culture, and spirituality as they did interpretation of it. Just like Wilfred said, you know, there's still that little 15%, you know, that is still there and still left that we want to increase and to re-empower ourselves to that knowledge. But the thing is that, you know, like we cannot go and read what was written about it because many of those writings were not what our people knew. Then we have to go back to the sources of our elders, the sources of our ceremonies. And sometimes our ceremonies hold the libraries, hold the knowledge to transmute to us again this capacity of understanding what this is all about. Now, when we deal with wampum belts, you have to understand that they're not always colonial interpretation. Prior to the coming of Europeans, there was spiritual, strong connection and understanding of why we were putting those wampum belts together. Now, what happened with time is that we kind of lost that connection and we reconnected not long ago, maybe 15, 20 years ago, writing books about wampum belts on things that was written by anthropologists, not based on the knowledge transmuted, transposed by our people. So that's where I'm starting to come in. First of all, I'll tell you something. It's very hard for me to do a presentation like this out of context because right now I don't have my tools. I don't have my wampum belts, not our wampum belts. I don't have the pipes that goes with it. I don't have the shelter that goes with it. I don't have the fire that goes with it and all the elements that are related to the ceremonial aspect of how we open that hole that Wilfred was talking about. how we open that hole to make connection with the being of light from other dimension and also part of this universe. This is why when I look at wampum belts, I have great concern. Why? Because many of our people continue to perpetuate the interpretation of the colonial version of these belts. These belts are just like microchips, computer microchips. They're fine-tuned binary system, energetic binary system for operating the best computer in the world, the human brain. Just imagine. Now I'm talking about our science, not their science. We knew about that knowledge. We knew that the importance that putting it together, there was a way to put it together as the instruction given by the star people, the being of lights, the people of the other dimension, the people of the other side of the whole. Wilfred was talking about the whole. I'll start with that. This one here. It's called in the colonial jargon, octahedron, meaning 8-sided. But the octahedron is also, when it's folded and it's brought together, that's what it looks like. 2 pyramids on top of one of each other, or a diamond, as you said. Recognize this thing, because later on, when I'm going to bring you into the holographic aspect of the belts, because when you look at the belt, you don't look at the belt, you look into a belt. And when you look into the belt in the context of the ceremonies, then you really understand the nature of these belts. Belts are energy grid that you program yourself with. How do you program yourself with? How do you program a computer? You program a computer with the microchips. It's the same thing that we use. I'm using contemporary words to make you understand all this. But when in the context of the lodge, there's a way that how we put these belts together, the way we built the lodge in the 8-pointed star lodge, in the way that everything is interconnected to travel into time-space, not in space-time like an airplane, but into time-space. And that knowledge also is interconnected with the strong capacity of some of our people to be able to materialize and dematerialize. Now we're dealing again with that thing that Annette was talking about and Wilfred, that particle. Matter versus antimatter. Basic physics knowledge. Some of our people, without having all that terminology, are capable of doing this, because that knowledge has been kept among some of our people and transposed. You will say, what the heck, Claude, where did you collect again after so many years this understanding? Well, it's gradual. And the thing is that some of us are giving the responsibilities of the ceremonies that goes with the wampum belt. For example, the Star Lodge, which is the whole again, which is the space traveling ship to go to the universe. Then this shaking tent. Another element that ties up with the understanding of all this scientific knowledge. When we built these traveling ship, they're based on the knowledge of where we're going to go. These are also called ancient geometry. And these instructions are connected with, there's a very specific way of how to do that, because all these buildings have to be put together in balance. We always say, in order to keep the balance of the ceremonies amongst our own people, it takes 8 men, 8 women to get started in order to ground that ceremony. And to ground that ceremonies, there's also many other elements that I don't want to talk about in public. You have to come to the ceremony. This is something that is visual, transmitted. This is not something that we write down or pass into verbal situation like that. Now, the thing is that you also have other elements, which is called the star wheel fire. And the star wheel fire is also connected again with the whole. There's the 52 grandmothers and grandfathers, 26 on one side, 26 on the other side, also related to the knowledge of the Wabanaki people, another nation that ties up to the Wabanaki, regarding the 26 clan. So there's 26 clan, which is composed of 26 female energy and 26 male energy. And that is just like a landing strip, a landing gear. And when we do the ceremony, we explain all that. But there's also coding, within all these things, this geometry, there's coding. Like, for example, people operate on a 1260 time. It's always super hyper. But when you want to connect to time space for traveling into the universe, you have to connect yourself to 1320, which is tied up to the 13 lunar year, 13 lunar months, and the 10 fingers of your hands and the 10 fingers of your feet, which is the ground when you ground yourself from up above and below the ground. And the thing is that there's a way to put this wheel in a mathematical way, because that's the instruction that we once received, that we have to respect. We just don't put those stones like this. Everyone have to be put in a very specific place, because you have to raise again, that energy grid of 1320. So when everything is put down, if you look carefully to this grid, you'll see that the hiding code is the 1 point is on 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, which makes 8. Okay? So 1320. That's how, and when that is put in place correctly, the star being says, oh, look, there's a gang down there that finally knows what we can do to make contact with them. Now let's see if they're going to put their lodge correctly, and let's see if they're going to do their singing correctly, in relation to that ceremony. Now, when you deal with the wampum belts and you bring them in the ceremonies, they all connect. So then when you start and you turn the key, gosh, hang on to your shirt, hang on to your hat, because when it starts taking off, you go where we're supposed to go. It's just like an airplane. If you have 2 inches too long on one side, you'll crash. And a lot of people also think that because they participated or or they went into an airplane for 20 years, they think they can drive the plane. Oh my gosh. And that's the problem sometimes we are faced with. There's no shortcut about this. It's a lifetime of learning. Now, let's go back to the wampum belts. The wampum belts are energy grid. Look at this one there. Now, we get the knowledge of the triology. How the prism. The prism is a triangle, isn't it? So the thing is that if you take this energy grid, one way to energize yourself with this grid, to program yourself, you take your hand, and you just go on it. And believe me, when you go on a wampum belt on it like this, you know, like a scanning the belt, you'll feel that energy right here in your hands. And you'll understand why there's +1 and -1, which is a binary grid. You know, people know what's a binary system. All computers works on binary system. All computers works on energy in order to create the color coding. But if you use a prism and you take first of all, the belt is on sideways right now, but it's always up and down because it's the connectedness with the sky people and our people. So the belt is never this way, the belt is this way. So if you take, for the teaching, you know, you got a third eye here. And the third eye is how your third eyes, your spirit see that belt. Your two eyes see it flat, but doesn't see a hologram. But your third eye sees it. And if you use a prism and you put it on your nose like this, I don't know, I don't see myself, so I don't know if you see me, and you look at that belt, you're gonna say, oh my gosh. Then all of a sudden you're gonna see all the color coding coming out of that belt. Then you'll see a beam of light in the center. Now, when the people talks about, hey, I don't know if I have to talk that far, but when we make contact with them, you know, there's a beam of light that's spread over the ceremony. And the thing is that everything gets, I go too far. And then from there, the thing is that you learn to see that. So then when you're gonna see those belts, then you're gonna see the grid, you're gonna see the energy grid, okay? The original belt used to be made of crystal and amethyst, but we have lost the knowledge of making them today. But that's why today we use purple quahog shell and white things. The purple, when you look at the belts, first of all, we never take the belt into the daylight. This is a no-no. You never take, because you de-energize them. And when you de-energize a belt, you lose its capacity, because you see, it's part of the ceremony also, is that the night before we energize the belts, we take the belts out, we bring them into the moon sky. And the thing is that you should see those belt men lighting up. They become pure transparent, just like if it was crystal, but we use quahog shell. And by using quahog shell, it's just like the purple represent, you know, like what it's not represent, disappear, because it mixed with the sky above. And the white is always the spirits. It's all those little spirits. And try to explain this, it'll be very hard for me, because you have to live that experience to really appreciate and understand what this is all about. The thing is also that when you look at belts, look at take the other belts. This one here, you got it, I think, huh? This one. No, that's continue. This one here. You see, the thing is that, oh boy, like you're reading right now something that it says French peace belt. I told you that these are energy grid. They're holograms. They're not flat. It says according to supposed to be blah, 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 blah. This was written by anthropologists at one time, but this is not what it is. The real meaning of this belt is called the balance belt. Now, put it, can you turn it around because it goes the other way. But anyway, we'll look at it this way for now. And if you looked at it on the left side, you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And if you look into the belt, you'll see in a hologram, it looks like little packages of cigarettes side by side. In the center, you see this here, right? You see that. Remember what the hole in the sky, the entrance door. Then after that, you see 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like little packages of cigarettes, but filled up from the other side. Now, the thing is that when you use a prism and you look at them, and you know how to look at the belt, you'll see a beam of light that is going right through this. It's just like a tube. It's just like a tube. And then it's just like little levels. So there's 4 levels up and 4 levels down. And that's the center. So when we are in the lodge, the way that belt is placed, it helps us to cross that dimension. Now, there's another one. And so that's why if you read what's written at the bottom, you're going to lose yourself. You have to decolonize yourself of this. You have to re-empower yourself to the physics, astrophysics of the belts, the knowledge of our people, not the interpretation of anthropologists, okay? And the thing is that people try to connect this, and first of all, you know, where's the Kahawk comes from? They come from the ocean. They don't come from inland. And the thing is that when you put the belt together, our people knew that it have to be a perfect square. A binary system, your TV works on a perfect little square belt, multitude of hologram cells, like your brain. And if your TV is programmed rectangular and not making full square, what happened? It distort. It totally distort. There he is. She got it. Now, look at that. Look at that. Now you're talking. Look at that. You see what it does? Take time to look at it. This is a tube. There's a beam of light right into the center, and it goes right through everything. Do you see that? Take the time to see that. It takes years to practice to succeed at. Some people get it right away. It's a hologram. It's holographic. Boy, I'm missing a lot of parts. I'm trying to put too much thing at the same time. But anyway, we're getting there. You're starting to get the feeling of it. So all interconnected, you know, like there's a thing also that we have when we do the Star Lodge, we have the instruction. It's some kind, it looks like a flying saucer. And it all on the flying saucer, it's all the it's copper gold. It's very ancient. And it's our people's things. You got the 7 stars on it, plus the 8 stars that Wilfred was talking about. And it came to us, you know, from the Buffalo Calf woman, from Call in the West. Us, we call it the Star Lady. And the thing is that she had in one hand that kind of things with the instruction. And on the other hand, she had a pipe. And if you could see the pipe that it's connected with the Star Lodge and these things, you would understand a lot more, because we explain that. We explain what's on the pipe, what it means and everything. And that pipe is hundreds and hundreds of years of age. And as you sing, the teaching of that is that she said when you want to talk to us, you want to connect with us, smoke that pipe, and we will meet there. That's where we'll meet, and that's the Pleiades. And when we have wampum belts, we also have a lot of wampum belts. Here's the Milky Way wampum belts to reach the Pleiades. Then after that, we have computer belts. There's so many. Then after that, we have the creator's belt. We call it the creator's belt because it's the belt of the belts, and that belt of the belt. This is the highway. Whoop! This is the takeoff. We call it in contemporary the landing, the takeoff strip, if you want to. And the thing is that I could talk about that the way it's just that when you put all these things together, that's when it's starting to be interesting. That's why we have to go a little bit further than try to always do politics with those wampum belts. With all respect I have with the Mohawk people, many of their belts are flat belts, which there'll be a date, it's related to a treaty and whatsoever. But Algonquins, Anishinaabe, Wabanaki, our belts are very strongly spiritual science, not politics. Not politics at all. So the thing is that I went to Akwesasne, and Jock at one time invited me to go and sit down with her people, and we talked about that. And boy, did they ever challenge them. She put that star wheel behind her place, and we did all kinds of talking and exploring with it. And I knew I would get set up. So I got set up. They sent a guy to look at the belt that was colorblind. Well, the thing is, when I give him the prism like this, and he started to look at the belt, all of a sudden he started to see in color. He was so amazed because he was not seeing with his two eyes. He was seeing with his third eyes. Because, like you use rattle, you use all kinds of things to build the energy, like too much to explain in just a little short time of 20 minutes. But when you put all the tools together, it makes sense. Our people enjoy and to re-empower themselves to all that knowledge. I don't know if I still have time to talk, but still have some time, or I'm close to the end. How much minute do I still have?
You still have a few more minutes.
Okay. So a lot of people in Wabanaki territory, we've been bringing the ceremony for the last 20 years. And it takes a long time for people to accept and recognize that wampum belts are not only political things, they are strongly holding spiritual knowledge. So I think that I'll stop at that. I don't know where I'm at, where I went with this. But the thing is, what I can tell you is that at one time, a group of us, we decided to try to demystify the wampum belt as political tools only, and we put a little manual, a little booklet together called the Wampum Peg, the spiritual science of the wampum belt, 20 years ago. And we say, oh, we're going to publish this thing. We never published it. What we did is that it rolled onto the internet, and people just read it and read it and read it. We even didn't finish to put all the picture in it and whatsoever. But that could help you to better understand what I was all talking about in the last 20 minutes. This being said, oh, this is the box of the Treaty of the Great Peace of Montreal in 1701. And the belt that you see in front of you is a spaceship with the traveling people. Anyway, this is another things to explain, but we'll leave it as that for now. And it holds 7 keys. And it also, it holds the key of the 4 elements: the air, the water, the fire, and what is the other one? The earth. So this being said, I want to thank you for listening, and I hope I didn't confuse you too much. Merci. Miigwech. Hona.
Thank you, Claude. What you had to say was very interesting. And I thought it was so interesting that the wampum belts used to be made out of crystals. I thought that was really cool. Now we're going to be opening up the floor, or we're going to be opening up to some questions. Wilfred, what inspired you to begin your learning journey with star teachings? I think he has to be unmuted.
I
No,
just
it's-
asked him to unmute now. Sorry.
Okay,
I got unmuted.
we can hear you
Hey.
now.
I was censored there. So the question was,
What inspired you to begin your learning journey with star teachings?
what inspired me? Well, the first thing that inspired me, and I'm sure inspired everybody, is go outside at night, and a nice clear night, especially in the wintertime, and look up at that night sky. And it just brings to mind all kinds of questions, and you get a sense of awe. And from there, I started hearing about stories my people told about the stars and how they were connected to everything else that we do. So, and when I started this journey, I had one story that I had, and I happened to have a great luck to run into a group of elders from Nisitriashi a community in northern Manitoba, and they told me that this thing that I was doing, because at that time I had a planetarium, I was taken around to the schools and I was telling this star story, and they said, "What you're doing is you have to keep doing." They told me, and that this knowledge that you're sharing with the kids is their knowledge, is their history, is their understanding, is their connection to all that is around us. And they said that if you were meant to do this work, then things will be put in your place and everything will unfold in front of you. And that way you'll know. And if you weren't meant to do it, then you'll have a really hard time doing it. So that's what happened. Things were put in my place, people were put in my place, and everything just seemed to unfold. So it was it's pretty awesome. And I'm still on this journey. I'm on this journey until I return back home.
Nice, thank you. And Annette, what advice would you give to young people who want to get into astronomy?
Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So, yeah, I am a full professor of astronomy at St. Cloud State University, and this is my 13th year there. Before that, I taught at Fond du Lac Tribal and Community College. So, what advice would I give you? Well, if you're going for the straight science, that's Western science. That comes from a particular culture. and a particular way of being in the world. So if you're looking through that lens, then my advice would be to, I guess, know your passion, and know your math and your science, and get support. If you're talking about a spiritual connection and indigenous connection and indigenous science, then that comes from a different way of being, not Western. And so then it's more about going to ceremony, or keeping track of your dreams, or doing your art or your music practice, or things like that. Taking care of your spirit, remembering that we come from the stars, short journey, and then we go back when we're done. So in the third case, if you're like me and you have both, good luck. I'm in the process of trying to create pathways for young people, especially Indigenous young people, so that you don't have to choose, and you can participate in science and do great work. And some of the projects I work on have to do with looking for other Earth-like planets and astrobiology. And I love science. It's great. I love
Mhm.
math. But I think that it's also important to recognize it's just one small piece. And at the end of the day, we are spiritual beings. We are energy. We have responsibility to that. So we can go to the playground of science and searching for other, what's on Europa under the ice shell? What's, what's all the other alien beings doing? Where's the next Earth? And there's so many. What's the definition of life? But I think we have to keep in perspective that that is Western science. That is about narrowing and reducing, and then there's Indigenous science. So I guess I'm saying is, be clear on what your objective is, what your truth is, and also be clear on what's out there. What has been branded as science, it's really Western, comes from Western European culture. It's super fun and fascinating, but there's way more to the picture. Our Indigenous science and the spirituality that goes with the connection to the stars is there too. So know what your path is.
Nice. Thank you.
Excuse me, could I add just a little bit to that, to what Annette said?
Yeah.
Because one of the things I get asked is exactly that question by a lot of the students. And I'd like to use the example just from my perspective is the education is what gets the door open. And your research and the determination is what gets you into the room. And your dedication and love of crafts to get you a seat at the table. And when you have a seat at the table, you have an input to what's being said and what's being put forward. An example I use is I had the opportunity to name a star in our Milky Way galaxy and to name a planet. So there's a Cree star and a Cree planet up there right now. And that was through the process of education and the love of the craft and dedication to the craft. So anybody, I can do it. This little Apaski kid can do it. Anybody can do it. Next year.
Thank you. Oh, that's so cool. Let's see what else.
So I have access to the chat right now, so only I can see what the comments are happening. So I do have a few questions in the chat right now that I'll ask. So Lori asks, what are the wampum belts made of besides crystals?
The wampum belts are made out of quahog shell. Within the quahog shell, there is a purple little vein that is used, and there is the rest of it is white. It's a lot more difficult to try to find the purple one than to find the white ones. How they were made, if you looked if you look at the quahog shell, you'll see that there's a little whole nerve in it. Okay, and then after that, they were made singly, one by one. Okay, and roll over on stone in order to. It's too bad that I didn't have. I have some that I could show, but I would have to go to the other room. That's how they were made. But the thing is why they use quahog shell is because it comes from the sea, it comes from the water. And also it's all related to within the shell, all the 7 elements of life are into it. You ask the astrophysician around for the words, like there's phosphor, nucleic acid, like all the elements of life. But the thing is that it's also connected to where we came from, because we come from the water, from the womb of our mother. It's the relation also with the sea people. You see, like the thing is that the story of the mermaids, it's all interrelated. That's why we use quahog shell.
So I guess another part of that, you mentioned that there were some made out of crystal. Are there
Yes.
any of those still around today?
No, there's none. There is none. The original one, none. I have one in my possession, and we only bring them out at ceremonies only.
So Nancy asks, where can we get the true information about wampum belts that's not from a colonial perspective? And she asks, Claude, do you have a wampum belt?
Yes, I do. The thing is that every wampum belt, like we put too much attention to the material aspect of things. It's just like writing a book, like your mother, your grandmother, your great-grandmother learned their ABC in books. Was it the books that was important, the material of the books was, or it was the content of the books? So wampum belts is the same thing, but there's a way to remake the belts. We have to earn every single bead because they represent spirits. So there's a way we explain to the people how we earn the beads. It's just like earning feathers, eagle feathers. You have to earn the beads through the ceremonies. So you have to bring them to the ceremonies. And then from there, when we earn those ones, that's how we built a wampum belt, from the one that were earned. And the thing is, a lot of the people say, oh, they're not the originals. It's not important. The material of it is what we have to make very careful is to remake a new one, exactly respecting the coding that is given and found in ancient wampum belts. That's what's important.
And I've got one more here about a wampum belt. What are the purpose what is the purpose of the wampum belts and how are they used today?
What is the purpose of the wampum belt? It's to make the purpose of the wampum belt are just like computer microchips to make the whole things work, because every single, and I'm not talking about political belts, man-made belts. I'm talking about spiritual belts that were put together following instruction from the star beings. These belts are used in our ceremonies to make contact with them. Believe me, you come to the ceremony, you'll see what I mean. And then what was the other part? What they're used today?
How are they used today?
To re-empower ourselves to all that knowledge, to reopen the door of our collective consciousness, to go to the world universal bank of knowledge, to go and get that knowledge again, with the support of the ceremonies that connected with the belts. How's that?
That's good. Real good. So I guess for regarding dreams, Annette, how do you remember your dreams? I know personally, I sometimes forget my dreams, or Wilfred as well. How do you tap into your dreams?
Go ahead, Wilfred.
Well, there's quite a few ways you can remember your dreams. There are people that are gifted in doing this, and they remember their dreams, but they can also interpret dreams, other people's dreams, because they hold that knowledge. There are people that write down their dreams, that people that draw their dreams, like Annette was talking about art, and art is a process of releasing that knowledge from your mind and making those connections. And there's ways of people fasting and focusing in on a specific dream. And some people just have the clarity of vision to see these dreams before them. And I've had dreams so clear that that I wake up and I could recount every little aspect of the dream. And so a lot of these dreams that are real clear, they happen, they come true. And I have other dreams where the spirit guides come and get you, and they take you somewhere and they show you something. And then for me, a lot of times they bring me back, and before I wake up from the dream, they ask me, okay, what happened to you? And then I have to repeat that dream over again. And then when I do that, every so often they look at you, the spirit guides will say, okay, he'll remember. And then I wake up. So there's a lot of ways that people go about realizing things.
Can I add up to this?
Go ahead.
The thing, you see, the wampum belt also is our I call that microchips. You know, that to open your brain. You know, like, because it's holographic. And then the thing is, when you are programmed, it helps you better understand to open that door for the dreams to come through and to be recorded and to be remembered. And the thing is that a lot of the people that go through the experience of the Star Lodge with they follow the following days after that. Sometimes we tell them, don't wash your hair right away, don't wash your head right away. Just let things get in, and then from there, you know, the dreams come through, and it becomes so vivid. You know, it's just like if you had programmed yourself to opening, to enhance. I guess that would be the word, enhance that connection. That's what Wampum Belts helps to do a lot too. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I think next we're going to be talking about some stuff that we're doing, some social media and everything. So Melissa?
Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
This is such a great project. And we do have a Facebook page. You can find us on Facebook at Regeneration of Mi'kmaq Star Stories through Storytelling. We'll be sharing stories on there. We also share a lot of other relevant content. And we also have a Twitter at Mi'kmaq Star Story. Throughout, we'll be posting when our next webinars are, what the themes will be. And we also have a podcast that we are developing, Strength in Stardust, with Serena and Susan, or I should say starring Serena and Susan. We'll have newsletters, and basically we'll have lots of information being shared on our social media. So I recommend that you follow us on there. We will also be starting a YouTube account so that you can access some more of videos like this, some more content from us. And I think that's it for me right now. Now I guess I would like to just say thank you so much to all of our presenters today for taking the time to share all of this amazing knowledge with us. I mean, it was super interesting the whole time, and it really, even just being here has opened up my mind even more. So Walalan, for that, thank you so much. I would also like to thank all of the guests who have joined us today. We're doing this to share knowledge, and I'm so happy that everyone is here to listen, and stay in touch and feel free to email us anytime. I would also like to thank the Spirit Aligned Leadership Program. This is why this is happening, so thank you so much. And I would also like to thank Serena for the opening prayer and for all of her hard work in this project and everything she does. She does so much more than this as well. Walalan, Serena, for that. Thank you, Susan, so much for moderating. You're an amazing moderator. Natural, super natural. And this is basically the closing of our event, and we will wrap it up with Kerala, and I'm asking her to unmute now, and she will be sharing the star song with us. Whenever you're ready, Kerala.
All right. So I won't be singing it, but I will share it with everyone. And this comes from, it's titled The Ancient Star Song of the Algonquin. We are the stars which sing. We sing with our light. We are the birds of fire. We fly over the sky. Our light is a voice. We make a road for spirits to pass over. Amongst us are 3 hunters who chase a bear. There never was a time when they were not hunting. We look down on the mountains. This is the song of the stars.
Oh.
Oh. So I'd like to thank everyone, and just you know, a quick thing about the podcast is we're going to start interviewing people, and we're hoping to have these out in public in January. So, you know, part of the participants here today, not participants, but, you know, Claude will, and Annette and Wilfred will, you know, be part of those podcasts. So you'll get a chance to hear more of their story as well. The podcast will also include, you know, local Mi'kmaq people and our knowledge keepers and our storytellers and our artists. So, you know, we're really looking forward to bringing that to everyone. And again, Walalio.
Got it. They went.
Yeah.